Hello, Hard Rockers. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to today's engineering leadership conversation with Dr. Kurt Katzenstein, the department head for Geology and Geological Engineering. My name is Mark Vaillancourt, and I have the pleasure of serving as the CEO for the Center for Alumni Relations and Advancement here at South Dakota Mines. And we're again so happy and delighted that you are here with us. Couple of things here before we get the conversation going. First, if you are in the chat, we'd love for you to let us know who you are, your degree, and where you are joining us from today. So drop a note in the chat so that we can see who you are and where you're checking in from. And secondly, this is going to be, there's a Q&A portion to this conversation today. So later on, after Dr. Katzenstein has shared his content and given us an update, we'll also give you an opportunity to ask questions. I will serve as your moderator, and here's how that's going to work. In the bottom or at the top, wherever your toolbar is for your Zoom account, you will see a Q&A section or a Q&A button. That's where I will invite you to drop in your questions, to ask your questions. And from there, I will pull from the wonderful questions you'll share with us and share them with Dr. Katzenstein so he can provide you with an answer. Again, if you are joining us, welcome, good morning, good afternoon. We're delighted that you're here. And again, let us know who you are and where you're joining us from. And so it is my pleasure to welcome to the conversation today, Dr. Kurt Katzenstein, who serves as the interim department head for Geology and Geological Engineering. And that's a mouthful. I think now I understand why Dr. Katzenstein, you refer to, or people around here refer to it GGE. But Dr. Katzenstein, the floor is yours. Welcome and thank you for joining us for this conversation with our wonderful alumni community.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Mark, for that introduction. And thanks to Kara and Mark for setting this up. I think this is a great idea to meet and chat with our alumni. And thank you to all of our alumni and friends who are joining us today. I'm going to attempt to share my screen successfully here. Hopefully, does that look like the first slide to a presentation to everybody?
Yes, it does. We're good to
All
go,
right.
Dr. Katzenstein.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, I've been asked to kind of provide some background about myself, and I know I do see a lot of names there that I recognize, so many of you may know a lot of these things already. But my plan here is to provide just a brief background about who I am and where I came from, and then I'll provide a little bit of discussion on the status of the department currently and some of the things that we're excited to share. And then we can in the Q&A have a chat about some of the challenges and things that we're facing and some of the future directions that we might be headed. So just to give you a little bit of background before I dive into some of the earlier information about my career in life, I've been with the department since 2008. So I just finished my 18th year at the institution, which seems like a huge number to me. It seems like I just got here, but this is as all of you know, this is a magical place to learn and from my perspective to teach the fields of geology and geological engineering. We're very blessed to do what we do where we do it here. So anyway, I'm going to dive right in here to give you a little background about where I came from. So I was born and raised actually in a small town in the high desert of the Mojave Desert in California, and it's I think no coincidence that I wound up being interested in earth science and the geological sciences and geological engineering just based on where I grew up. If you've had any opportunity to travel to this region, it's very close to Death Valley. Owens Valley is a famous geological locality. The Long Valley Caldera is not far away. And then for me, the backcountry of the Sierra Nevada were kind of my playground. So I feel very fortunate to have grown up where I did, and I think it's no coincidence that I wound up kind of taking the professional path that I did just based on where I spent my free time. And I have to also thank my parents because they were very active in getting us outdoors, taking us backpacking, taking us camping, and letting us just kind of roam around and see things for what they are, and to start to get that inquisitive, observational mind that we all need to be successful in what we do. So after graduating from high school, I migrated north from, oh, before I get to that, I forgot I added this in here. Some of you may have heard of Ridgecrest. About 7 years ago, it had a major earthquake event. So in 2019, July of 2019, there was a 7.1 earthquake there that led to some really cool photos because the desert, as you probably are aware, is a fantastic place to observe geology. There's none of this pesky vegetation in the way to see things. And so all kinds of really amazing before and after imagery of the slip associated with this large earthquake event. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that because you may have heard of Ridgecrest back when that occurred. It's the largest earthquake in California since the Northridge event in 1992. Then I moved up to Nevada, in Reno, Nevada, and enrolled at the Mackey School of Mines at the time. It's now the Mackey School of Earth Sciences and Engineering. And I earned an undergraduate degree there in geological engineering. I actually enrolled originally as a geology student, and like many graduating high school students, I should say, I didn't know that geological engineering was a thing at the time. And I just happened to go to one of the 13 schools in the U.S. that has geological engineering, and luckily for me and for my interests, there was a faculty member there who recognized that I might be a good fit for a change. And so after a semester, I actually changed from geology to geological engineering, but of course still have interests in both of those things. And Reno is in a really cool place as well. You know, it's very close to Lake Tahoe. There's some really neat volcanic stuff if you go north to the Southern Cascades. And it's a good place to go and spend more time outside, to solidify that love for the outdoors and understanding how the earth works. My future wife, joined me there after she finished her undergraduate degree in Southern California. And so she got a master's degree there at UNR as well. I did not plan this way, but I actually ended up staying there for all three of my degrees, partly because I had a really great advisor that I was working with there, and my wife was gainfully employed, which made grad school much easier. So I actually earned all three of my geological engineering degrees there at University of Nevada, Reno. You can also see the first of, we're on our fifth yellow Labrador now. We just have a puppy actually at home. We have three labs at home right now, so we're big dog people, which is also a big part of what we do. I also have three kids. I should mention that probably before the dogs, but I have three daughters that are, my oldest is 16, and then I have a 15-year-old and then a 12-year-old daughter. So they're very active in sports and things. That keeps us extremely busy these days. The type of research that I did while I was a grad student there, I was very lucky and got to spend some time studying Mount St. Helens. And so the master's degree work that I did was to try to model the landslide that was associated with the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. And so to do that, we traveled to the mountain itself, the crater, and collected samples and did a bunch of strength testing. And we were going to take it to a more detailed step with finite element modeling and all kinds of other high-level modeling with more data. But what happened, if you may remember, in 2003 is the volcano actually woke up and there was some dome building eruptions that made fieldwork impossible. So what happened after that is I kind of transitioned into a different research focus, which I'll talk about here in just a minute. But the geohazards research that I did then is still a big part of what I do. And I thought I might mention a neat grad school project that one of my students did a couple years ago, looking at trying to measure displacement of fractures across the in situ bone bed at Dinosaur National Monument. Many of you may have been there. I figured this might have a neat appeal to the paleontology focused folks in the group here. So we were actually approached by the park paleontologist there to try to monitor and better understand how the bone bed itself would shift and move throughout annual cycles because they had seen evidence of propagating fractures through their paleontology resources, and they wanted to make sure that they could protect this for the long term, which is, obviously a goal of the National Park Service. So we had the uncomfortable job of using a hammer drill to drill holes into the beautiful in situ bone bed there at the Carnegie Quarry. But they each time we did it, we said, "Are you sure we're going to drill a hole now?" But they were very in favor of us doing that. So it was a really fun project, and we got some neat results. And actually, the Park Service has since taken over our equipment and is continuing to maintain the survey, the monitoring there, which is really a kind of a nice success story of that project. The other thing that I do nowadays, and this was kind of the shift that happened when Mount St. Helens erupted in 2003, I actually do a geophysical remote sensing technique called radar interferometry, where we utilize spaceborne radar data to measure deformation on the surface of the Earth from space. And believe it or not, we can actually measure sub-centimeter, even close to millimeter scale deformation across large areas. And you can imagine the application of this in geologic parlance in terms of earthquakes, tectonics, volcano intrusions. I do a lot of work looking at groundwater and aquifer system response to pumping. And so, in fact, the middle slot part here, which is this one here in the middle, is actually my dissertation site. I was looking at ground deformation associated with mine dewatering at the Gold Strike property in north central Nevada in the Carlin Trend. But on this particular, what we call interferogram, you can see 4 mine site dewatering signals that are coming from four of the major mines in Nevada. So even in bedrock, we see an elastic response if you draw the water down far enough, which is kind of interesting. So that's me. That's where I came from. This is kind of, the things that I do. I'm also very interested in the things that I teach here. I have a kind of a high teaching load, and I really enjoy interacting with students. I teach the field course for the geological engineers here in the department as well. So anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the department. So for those of you who were recent graduates, there's been some big changes recently. So Dr. Larry Stetler, who had been here since the mid-90s, retired at the end of the 2024-2025 academic year, so just over a year ago. And then Dr. Kevin Ward, who was our geophysicist at the time, he left that same semester to live closer to his wife, who he recently married. And then just last May, a couple months ago, Dr. Masterlark stepped away from the department. So in addition to that, of course, Dr. Hall, our previous department head, has stepped down as well. So we've had a lot of change in the department in terms of our faculty. We were able to hire for the beginning of last academic year, Dr. Chelsea Peterson. She's been a really great addition to our GGE family here. But certainly I'm excited to work with the administration here at the institution to replace some of the other departures that we've had. And so you can see over here on the right, there's a plot here showing how faculty FTE, full-time equivalent faculty positions have declined over the past 5 years or so. And so we're excited to work with the administration to strategically and sensibly kind of, increase our ranks back to a level that's appropriate. At the same time, we've actually had more student credit hour teaching going on. So, of course, that's good from a bean counting point of view. In terms of other things, major things that have happened here, if you've been on campus recently, the quad looks very different now. The Nucor Mineral Industries building, Mineral Industries building was open for business in January of 2025. So we just finished our third semester in the building, and it's been a really great change from the old MI building. The effort to move up here was a large one. As geologists and paleontologists are, really good at collecting rocks. So we had a lot of rocks in the old MI building that we had to make difficult decisions about. But luckily, the same disease exists with our students. So when we had rocks that we needed to get rid of, all we had to do was put them out in the hallway, and by the end of the week, they were gone. So we did move a lot of rocks up to the Nucor building, but just not all of the rocks that we'd collected in the 60-year history of the MI building. But the labs are great in the new building. The class teaching spaces are fantastic. So if you're ever in town and haven't seen the building yet, you should certainly stop by. There's a lot of really great open space as well, community space for the students to congregate and work together. And there's lots of conference rooms that students can utilize as well. So it really is a great learning environment, and it's been a really nice addition to our campus. Now, on a sad note, many of you heard in December, we lost one of our major players in the history of the Geology and Geological Engineering department. Perry Ron passed away, and for those of you that knew Perry, he was a singular, amazing person. I feel very, very fortunate to have gotten to know him. I actually met him, the first time I met him was when I was a grad student in Reno, and he came as the Johns Distinguished Lecturer for AEG and gave a talk. And I thought, here's a guy who knows a lot about a lot, and that really describes Perry, I think, very well. And he was inquisitive all the way through to the end, and so he'll be missed. And I know he may have had a major impact on a lot of lives in this attendees today. And so, think a happy thought about Perry. It was great to know Perry, and he led an amazing life, as all of you know. In terms of graduate and undergraduate enrollment, we'll start with undergraduate enrollment here. The programs are relatively healthy. You can see on the left, that's the enrollment for the geology undergraduate degree. It dipped slightly last year. We're hopeful to remain near flat, if not maybe slightly dipping again this year. So we're working to try to strategically target incoming students in the geology program. We'll be looking at ways to do that this year. The geological engineering degree on the right side there, we had some lower enrollment years recently, but we've bounced back, and we're excited to say that we should be flat again this year, and I expect probably a jump up again next year, just based on the fact that we have a small graduating senior class this year, and we've had really good interest in prospective student visits this year for geological engineering. So I'm hopeful that that'll matriculate through, and we'll have a good bump in enrollment next year as well. Some of the challenges we have here, there's a nationwide high school graduation enrollment cliff that we're seeing, and so we're fighting against that. Luckily, we have good support from donors in terms of freshman scholarships, particularly recently for the geological engineering students, and that's really helped, I think, to increase our ability to recruit students. And so those are the types of things that really help our department. In terms of graduate enrollment, a lot of these plots here are kind of statistics of small numbers, but one of the things I'll point out, the lower left here, this is the master's degree in geology and geological engineering. You'll see a pretty good drastic increase in enrollment over the past 3 years, and part of that comes from the fact that we began allowing students to do a non-thesis option. So these are for students that are either industry folks that are coming back to get a master's degree, or students that know that they're not going to go on for a PhD, and they're just looking for additional training to better prepare them for industry work. And so we have quite a few students who are taking advantage of the non-thesis option. We also now, of course, have an accelerated master's option, which has been around for a while now, but that allows students to double count course credits in their final year of undergraduate work to apply both towards the undergraduate and the graduate degree program. The paleontology master's degree, which of course many of you know is the only specifically titled paleontology master's degree in the U.S., was under scrutiny recently because you're required by the South Dakota Board of Regents to graduate an average of 5 master's students from each degree over a 5-year period, so 5 on average per year, so basically 25 every 5 years. And we're improving those numbers. The paleontology MS also recently initiated a non-thesis option, so I expect in the coming couple of years we'll see a similar jump to what we saw in the geology and geological engineering master's degree. So it's likely we'll see improved statistical, graduation rates and things from the paleo masters. We certainly still have our PhD, and about 5 or 6 years ago, mining engineering joined our PhD. So it's now the PhD in geology, geological engineering, and mining engineering. And so we've had a really nice increase in enrollment in that degree program in the past 3 years. And a lot of that has come from the fact that we've had some really great successes in our faculty securing research funds to support their graduate students. And so, as you all know, if you can have a funded PhD position, and we're really pushing to try to graduate our students in 4 years these days as well, that's going to really serve your programs well. So by and large, things are good across the grad world. I expect that the paleo numbers will be really looking better in the next year or two as well. One of the things that I wanted to circle back in terms of undergraduate recruitment, I was looking at some data that we have here at the university, and there's a couple things that we can control in terms of the undergraduate enrollment funnel, and there's some things we can't. One thing that we can't control at the department level is we have students that apply to be admitted, and that whether or not they're admitted or not has to do just with the the statistics that are used by the admissions folks in terms of GPA and ACT or SAT scores. But once they're accepted, um, now they're ours, right? We have the ability to reach out and influence whether or not they come or not. And so there's something called yield rate, which is, okay, accepted students that actually matriculate and enroll at the institution. And so I actually made this plot that shows the yield rate for all of the programs, undergraduate programs in the institution, and we're doing quite well with both of ours. And I think that speaks volumes both on the geology side to maybe what we do in terms of paleontology. It's a very popular focus for our undergraduate students here because of where we're situated and the paleontology research lab and all those things. And then on the engineering side, once we can get them here and convince them that geological engineering is this really great, unique field where you can kind of spend 1 foot, have 1 foot in the science world, 1 foot in the engineering world, many of them will come and actually join us here. So I think this is a strength to retain and to cultivate, and it just goes to show that our efforts in terms of recruitment, once the students get here, those efforts are fruitful. Another interesting thing that I threw together was I looked at all the programs and I wanted to see. I was curious how many lab and field credits. I mean, basically field courses for us are basically labs. If you remember field camp, many of you probably just shuddered when I said those words. But field camp is like a lab situation. And so one of the big pushes these days is experiential learning. And so labs are one way you can do experiential learning. And so I wanted to see how our programs compared in terms of lab and field credit offerings. And we're outperforming pretty much every program on campus in that regard. So what it means is our students get a very hands-on applied education, which I think will serve them very well. And so that's something that we're very proud of in our department. So I mentioned the field camp. As many of you know, about 20 years ago, maybe more than that now, we hired Nuri Uzunlar to be our field camp director for the Black Hills Natural Sciences Field Station. And he has done an amazing job over the decades expanding our field offerings to the point where we actually host through our institution courses at all of these locations globally. Some of these are full 6-credit, 5-week experiences, which were the types of courses that are required for our degree programs. But he's also hit on the market for smaller 2 to 4 credit field experiences where institutions around the country might not require a full 6-credit field experience. So he's done and generated some specialty camps, as he calls them. So there's a geomorphological camp in the Himalayas. There's volcanology camps in Iceland, Hawaii, and Ecuador. He's got some petroleum-focused camps in different places. And so this is really a feather in our cap with many institutions these days are reducing their field offerings. We've done the opposite. And that all started from the fact that we have, as you all know, the Black Hills in our backyard. And so that allowed us to say, okay, we're going to grow our field course offerings, and we're going to allow students from any institution that need field credits to come to our classes. And so as a result, this past year, we hosted almost 200 students in our field courses, which typically on an annual basis equates to about 10 to 15% of all of the field camp students nationwide, which is an amazing thing for a small school such as ours to be able to have that as a claim. So field camp is still strong. Many of you may have attended field camp here in the Black Hills at Ranch A. In recent years, Ranch A has not allowed us to return to that site. They're actually renting it to other entities and parties, probably for a larger profit, which is understandable. So as a result of that, we've been hosting field camps from campus, which isn't quite the same experience as those of you that went to Ranch A can attest to. And so there's been a big push recently. There was a large donation of property by Pete Lean out in Nemo. And so we're currently fundraising for a Nemo field station. And so these are some artist renderings of what the architect has come up with for us at that site. And so certainly if you have an interest in being a part of that fundraising opportunity, definitely reach out to Mark and his team. We're doing well in terms of current amount raised, and we're hopeful that this will be a reality in just a few years, if not sooner. So very, very exciting for us. It's a beautiful piece of property. You can walk right out the back door, and the grade unconformity is right basically behind the building, and you can walk. We could do our Jacob staff section measurement right there from the backyard of the field station. You probably all just shuddered again when I said Jacob staff, but still a very important part of what we teach, and for students to be able to describe sections. And so, anyway, this is a big, exciting thing for us as well. Um, I know I may be running a bit long here, so I'm gonna try to finish up. Um, one of the really neat things that CARA has done in the past 4 years is they've established this Raising for Rockers campaign, and individual departments can basically state what they want to fundraise for. And so GGE has focused on department sponsored field trips. Many of you that are alums from back in the 90s and maybe early 2000s will remember major field trips, many led by Dr. Paul Grease and other people. And these are experiences that are extremely important, I think, for the undergraduate development of our students. To see geology from somewhere else is really great. So I want to thank many of you, I'm sure, are active donors to this program. Your donations, I can't think of a better way to influence the lives of our students. It's been really great. We've done some really great trips recently, and just in fact, just in a couple of weeks, we're going to go do a 3-day trip, overnight trip in the Badlands with our students, and then we're planning a large trip in the spring. We're hopeful that we can maybe do kind of a farther reach trip in the spring. We're thinking about maybe trying to go to Hawaii. Nuri has got lots of connections there and can do a Hawaii trip affordably. So that's what we're planning currently. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But lots of great trips, and these, like I said, these influence students directly, and these are memories and amazing experiences for our students. So thank you. So it looks like Mark's coming back. I'm probably going too long, aren't I, Mark? One more slide and I'm done, I promise. So I want to also give a shout out to our faculty. They've brought in so much research funding. Currently, our department PIs are active on over $9 million in funded research. That's an amazing thing, and much of this has come in just the last couple of years, or a year and a half even. So some major grants. Dr. G just got a big $3 million grant from the DOE to develop a downhole critical minerals detection tool. Dr. Usanisic is looking at carbon capture and storage in mid-ocean basalts. Trevor Waldine got an NSF career grant, which is a big deal for early career faculty. He's looking at Black Hills uplift history. And then Sarah Keenan was a Fulbright specialist and traveled to Kenya this past spring to help them develop a geology curriculum. So I know I'm running long, so I'm going to skip ahead. So thank you for listening to me talk too long, and I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody might have. So I'll go ahead and stop my share here.
Well, thank you, Dr. Katzenstein, for your wonderful presentation. Lots of exciting things happening in your department, and we're glad that you were able to share some of that. Okay, so for our community here with us today, again, just a reminder, if you have a question, use the Q&A function, put your question in there, and you have my word that in the next 17 minutes, I will get to as many of them as I can. If for some reason we can't get to yours specifically, I will make note of it. I will email it to Dr. Katzenstein, and we will get you an answer. So as questions begin to pop up here, Dr. Katzenstein, a couple of maybe just to get us started here. You alluded to the Nucor Mineral Industries building, right? So maybe let's dig a little deeper. How is that facility? We've referred it, and I think I've heard you say the same thing, as a state-of-the-art facility. How has that impacted kind of real time your department's work and the students who get to engage in the studies of geology and geological engineering in that new space?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. One of the things that I would say first and foremost is it's just a fantastic showpiece, right? So when we have prospective students that come here, both at the undergraduate and graduate level, to have them come and tour that building relative to what we could provide them in the old MI building it's night and day. The old MI building was functional, and it was, a lot of us spent a lot of time there and maybe hold some reverence towards it. But the new building is amazing. The lab facilities are state of the art. We have the ability for faculty to conduct really high level research, and I think this increase in research funding that our faculty are able to generate it's no coincidence. We're able to do more now with our lab space. I would also say that the student experience is great once they're here. The common space that's here for students to hang out are just it's way better than we had before. So students can congregate, they can work together in an open space, and they also have some conference rooms that they can go and practice for presentations or whatever else they need to do. So it really is just a step above what we had prior, and I think it's starting to bear out in what we're seeing with our productivity.
Great. We have a question from David Hammond. And just a reminder, everyone, use the Q&A function, please, so that can help. So I think you see the chat there, and I'm going to be honest, the acronyms on this campus, after 2.5 years, they still mess me up. So the question from David is as follows: do you think that GEE will be involved in some ways with the MEM big DoD workforce grant? So there we go. We threw a bunch of acronyms out there for you.
I'll clarify. Yeah, so thanks, Dave, for asking that question, actually. I meant to mention that in the research slide because this is hot off the press. Yeah, so many of you may have heard the DoD just awarded the school $25 million to help develop a critical minerals workforce. And this is a big deal. It's actually going to be split between us, University of Kentucky, and the Missouri S&T. This was part of a big proposal put together by faculty in mining and metallurgical engineering, Dr. Andrea Bricky and Dr. John Keller, who many of you know. And so I expect that we will have a hand in this because they want to develop economic geology. They want to develop actual extraction and processing as well from critical minerals. So this is a very exciting thing. The majority of what we're going to do here is probably student scholarships, but it might also impact faculty hires and lab space and that kind of thing. So it's still unclear the route forward, but I'm definitely excited to work with Dr. Mitra over in mining, who's the interim head there, and Dr. West in Met to see, and of course Dr. Bricky and Dr. Keller to see how we can all work together to make this happen. But what an amazing opportunity, and something that will really help put us on the map in the critical minerals space, because there's a lot of institutions fighting for critical minerals funds right now, and it's a very competitive thing, and this really puts us on the map. So it's a big deal.
Great. A companion question, and you alluded to it briefly, but the question is from Dennis: are you teaching economic geology, and are you looking for faculty specializing in economic geology?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So currently, the course, the economic geology course, is taught. We have Dr. Chris Pulowski, who's his position is kind of half instructor, half program manager. Basically, he helps with field courses. He helps with kind of day-to-day operations in the department. So the course is covered. However, I think there's an opportunity for us to expand our expertise there. About a decade and a half ago, when Dr. Colin Patterson retired, many of you probably know Dr. Patterson. The funding picture for economic geology was pretty bleak, and so we actually moved away from that focus as a department because the big push at the time was to bring in more research funds. And so we successfully hired folks that have brought in lots of research funds in petrology, but it's not necessarily economic geology. So I think that we could certainly strategically increase our ranks here in terms of the critical mineral space. So I'm hopeful that we'll have opportunities to do that. And so the picture will become clearer here in the coming months.
Great. Again, use the Q&A, put in your question. So Dr. Katzenstein, here's kind of a straight up question. When you think about the South Dakota Mines GGE graduates, what sets our graduates apart from other similar programs?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first and foremost, we leverage very well what's in our backyard. We have the Black Hills here, and it's an amazing, extremely accessible natural laboratory. There's a really great exposure of rocks here that allows us to see geologic history in the rocks, and that allows us to take what we teach in the classroom and apply it in the field. I think also, many geology programs across the U.S. have maybe migrated away from some of the classic geology courses, and they're maybe more of a earth and environmental sciences focus. We've kind of maintained the classical geology training, which I think helps to ensure our students are well trained in geology, both in the geology and geological engineering degree path. So I think that our hands-on approach to education here it serves our students well, and that's no mistake that that happens here because of the Black Hills.
Wonderful. Another question to come up. I mean, you spoke briefly in your presentation about the challenges, declining high school enrollment. That's a demographic challenge that's not affecting not just South Dakota Mines, but university or higher ed in general. But what are other challenges that you see here as you step into this department head role and you're looking, through the crystal ball of the future? What's kind of keeping you up at night, if I can ask that?
Yeah, one of the challenges that always exists for geoscience programs and geological engineering in our case is, informing high school students that there's careers in these fields. Oftentimes the last time a K through 12 student will encounter earth sciences is in middle school. And so they don't realize that it's a space where you can have very, very exciting, interesting careers. It's even more difficult, I would say, for the geological engineering degree because I, myself included, I'd never even heard of it. So we're fighting against a graduating cohort of students that may not even know that our degree even exists to begin with in the case of geological engineering. So from that perspective, I think targeted advertising, outreach that we can do as a department is going to help with that. Other issues we have certainly, I mentioned the enrollment cliff. There is that issue. It means we just need to reach further away from the Black Hills to ensure that we keep our numbers up. Of course, everybody else is going to be doing that too, so it's going to become more competitive. On the research side of things, there's certainly some uncertainty these days in the federal funding space. Now, the big announcements that we had this last week kind of run counter to that, which is great for us. But for other subdisciplines within geology, it's a little bit uncertain times. Luckily, so far we've been able to buck the trend, and our funding of our faculty has been increasing even through this uncertain time. So it doesn't mean it's always going to be the case, but we have to work really hard to ensure our faculty are supported to the point where they can be successful in that endeavor as well. So.
Great. A question from Dale. First, tip of the hat to you, Dr. Katzenstein, for the nice update. And then the question is, what emphasis will there be, if any, on deep and hot geothermal energy production?
Yeah, it's a great question. In fact, one of our other recent hires is Dr. Ji Yi from and he was at University of Oklahoma as a postdoc, and one of his expertise areas is geothermal. And in fact, he has a big $7 million proposal out there right now to try to evaluate and explore the geothermal resource that exists in south central South Dakota. So I think that we're going to try to integrate a lot of his expertise into our coursework. We actually changed the name of the drilling and production course to geothermal energy and production, I think is the name of the course now. So he works some of that background into that course as well. So I appreciate the question. I think that geothermal is going to play a big role in what our geological engineers do in the future, and so I think we need to continue to change and respond to that need. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Great. Another question. Many universities and colleges are seeing a trend of instructors being hired rather than permanent faculty. Is GGE trying to push against this trend?
It's a really great question. Historically, the only instructor we've had here that was a kind of a permanent position and not just a field camp instructor for the summer was our GIS position. So teaching the GIS courses, and that model has worked well for those courses. And I think actually the GIS training that we give our students gives them a leg up on employment opportunities as well. But to answer the question more broadly, I'm not against let me back up. One of the challenges we have currently is offering a wide range of elective courses to our undergrads. We're able certainly to cover the core courses and a few electives here and there, but with our decline in faculty numbers that I mentioned before, one of the concerns we have is whether or not we can continue to offer the number of electives we need. So it's possible that one more instructor position might help serve that purpose. And basically what it does is it works in tandem with research active faculty to free them up to be able to teach maybe one fewer course a year, and bring in the funds that we need to maintain competitiveness there as well. So I'm not necessarily saying it's a cure-all by any means, but it could serve a purpose in our department in terms of helping to ensure that our students have the courses that they need.
Great. All right, last call for questions here. I've got one final one, and then if I see, oh, there we go. Now, uh, I am not going to try to pronounce this name just because my name is difficult to pronounce because it's French. So here's the question: how is the now offered combined MEM/GGE PhD be different from just the MEM and GGE PhDs by itself? Again,
Yeah,
with the acronyms.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, so the question is basically, historically we had a PhD that served geology and geological engineering in the department, and then mining joined us about 5 years ago. And one of the reasons why they joined us was the Board of Regents has that same requirement for the number of graduates for PhDs as well. I believe it's an average of two every year for 5 years. And they were worried they wouldn't be able to meet that. And so we invited them to come. But to be honest, each of those three kind of subcategories in the PhD has its own requirements. So in reality, nothing has changed in terms of the requirements for the geology and geological engineering paths. It's just now we have another option of the mining track. Not really any changes, just kind of from the bean counting point of view, it allows them all to be active and successful.
All right. There are two questions in the queue. I will ask those and then I will wrap it up. But what I've done in the chat, folks, is I've given you my email address. Any questions that you may still have here, you can email to me and I will get them to Dr. Katzenstein. All right. This question is from Isaac. And I want to be respectful of your time, Dr. Katzenstein. So
no problem.
Here's the question. Isaac had the opportunity to benefit from the great department's from the department's travel grant this year. On the topic of student support, are there any current or planned initiative to assist graduate students who face unexpected funding gaps or financial emergencies?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ensuring that we have graduate student funding is one of our biggest priorities here. And I will say, in fact, this week I've been assigning TA duties for students. We actually, as a department, earned another funded TA slot this year from the graduate school, which is a great addition. So that's going to help us in that regard. I will say as well that faculty are generally doing a much better job of funding their graduate students through research assistantships. And so what that means is, if that continues, we'll have a need for TAs to help fill in gaps here and there where we don't have enough graduate students to teach those courses. So the continuing students that maybe might need a semester's worth of funding might have opportunities for at least a semester's worth of a TA. Now, in terms of actual plans to have stopgaps, well, it's difficult. We do have some discretionary funds that we can spend as a department, but we don't have anything currently and specifically set aside to be kind of an emergency fund for students. But I would say if you're a student and you're short funds, you should come talk to us, and we'll try to find scholarships, fellowships, TA-ships, anything we can to keep you in the game for a semester, while you finish up, because that is important to us.
Great. Last question quickly from Nicole. What about looking for maybe retired professionals to help fill in with the electives, in their specific area of professional expertise, right?
Yep.
And her precursor to that question was her favorite teachers happened to be the ones that had real quote unquote world experience. And so what about that particular approach?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. The challenge we have, of course, is they would need to live in Rapid City. We still like to have in-person teaching. We are exploring the option of online courses. So we do have a list of folks that have served as adjuncts in the past. But I think that we need to explore that more. I agree. And bringing in that real world knowledge is really, really important. I think the students, like you say, appreciate that because they realize that what they're learning has direct application to their actual chosen careers. So I think we need to explore that more. And I plan to do that. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Well, great. Well, this will wrap up our questions and answer. Again, I put my email in there. Any last minute questions, or if you, after we close out, if you think of something you would like to know, then email me directly and I will get it to Dr. Katzenstein, and I'm sure he'll be happy to respond. couple of housekeeping things here. We're almost done with this engineering tomorrow, these leadership conversation, and we'll be back. As you probably know, it's that time of year. Our students are beginning, well, next week, all of our faculty will be back on campus and we get ready. And then on the 24th of August, our students will be back and the campus will come back to life again. But we've got two more of these conversations. The next one is on Tuesday, the 25th with Dr. Ken Benjamin from the Karen M. Swindler Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering. Then we'll wrap up the series with our friends in industrial engineering and the new department head, Dr. Adam Piper. This conversation today was recorded and will be available for the first couple of weeks. It will be available on our Hard Rocker Connections platform. So if you haven't signed up and you haven't joined our Hard Rocker Connections, which is in short is our alumni directory, there's a QR code there. You can also go to the kara.sdsmt.edu website and look for alumni portal. But you'll be able to see that video in the replay of this conversation. And then in a couple of weeks, we will post it on our regular YouTube channel. And then finally, again, the start of school means that shortly after that, we get into celebrating Rocker Days or M Week or Homecoming. We'll kick off the activities on Thursday, September 24th at 4 p.m. with the Surbeck expansion ribbon cutting. As you know, the New Heights campaign not only helped fund and build a beautiful new core mineral industries building, but the Surbeck addition is also now complete and our students will have access to that. And we'd love for you to come back. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, obviously a boatload of activities, including the Hard Rocker Heritage Gala Award and then the Alumni Football Tailgate for Saturday's football game. So thank you again to all of you for joining us for this conversation. Dr. Katzenstein, on behalf of all of us, thank you. Give you an opportunity to say a few final words before we wrap this up.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for dropping by and don't be strangers. If you have questions or comments, send me an email. I'll be happy to chat with you. So yeah, thanks for everybody's time.
Robert, just I saw your question. I will email it to Dr. Katzenstein and we'll get you an answer. Thank you, everyone. Be well. Go Hard Rockers.